Some retirees may not see it coming until they're standing right in the middle of it. You retire, the paychecks stop, but your bills don't, and Social Security hasn't started yet. For many, that window can range somewhere between 1 and 4 years, depending on the timing of benefits. And if it isn't planned for, that gap could create financial strain, even for a well-funded retirement. Hi, I'm Gavin Baker. I'm a financial advisor with the Baker team at Parkway Wealth Management Group. Today, I want to talk about what we call the income gap, what it is, why it catches so many people off guard, and what a well-prepared plan looks like on the other side. And because each individual situation is different, planning strategies should be tailored accordingly. Think about how your income works right now. Paycheck shows up every 2 weeks. You know it's coming in, and you build your life around it. The day you retire, that stops, and in its place, there may not be replaced income lined up yet. Social Security doesn't automatically begin the day you retire. Benefits begin when you elect to claim them, which may or may not coincide with that retirement date. In fact, some people who retire in their early to mid-60s choose to wait before claiming Social Security because delaying can increase the monthly benefit they'll receive for the rest of their life. So you have this gap. Retirement has started, Social Security hasn't, and the bills are still arriving on schedule. The income gap is that in-between period, and the decisions you make during it matter more than you might expect. Depending on your situation, pulling from the wrong accounts in the wrong order at the wrong time may negatively impact a plan that looked perfectly solid on paper. Tax considerations and long-term strategy may also influence withdrawal decisions make sense, and each person's income sources and timing will vary. Here's where things get tricky. The gap years often coincide with the early years of retirement, which are commonly viewed as among the more financially sensitive years of retirement. That's the sequence of returns risk window we talk about often, and in one of our earlier videos. So you have two things happening at once. You're drawing down your portfolio to cover living expenses, and you're doing it during the period when, depending on market conditions, a downturn could do the most lasting damage. Here's a hypothetical example. Say you retire at 63 and plan to start Social Security at 67. That's a 4-year gap. If you need $7,000 a month to cover your expenses and none of that is coming from Social Security yet, you'll need to pull roughly $336,000 out of your portfolio over those 4 years. If markets are flat or up, that's manageable. But if you're pulling from a portfolio that drops 20% in year 1, you could have potentially locked in those losses at exactly the wrong moment. This example assumes consistent withdrawals and does not reflect investment returns, taxes, fees, or other income sources. The gap can introduce additional risk in your retirement plan, although the impact may vary depending on how withdrawals are structured, and planning strategies may help manage that risk. That's why it may warrant its own strategy. So what does a well-built plan actually look like for covering the gap? There are 4 things we commonly work through with clients. Number 1, we map the gap before you retire. Before a client ever receives their last paycheck, we sit down and put numbers on the gap. How long will it last? How much income do you need to replace each month? What sources are available, and which should we preserve for later? This conversation is so important, and it's best to have it 2 to 3 years before the retirement date, not the week after. Number 2, we build a dedicated source. Rather than relying on a single account to cover everything, one approach we commonly use is to build a separate pool of assets specifically for the gap period. This might be a combination of cash, short-term bonds, CDs, or an investment account positioned conservatively. The goal is to cover the gap without touching long-term growth assets during the years they may be the most vulnerable to sequence of returns risk in certain market conditions. Number 3, we sequence withdrawals carefully. Not all accounts are created equal, and the order you pull from them can have a significant effect on both your tax bill and the longevity of your portfolio. In some cases, pulling from taxable accounts first, before RMDs or Roth distributions begin, allows those tax-deferred accounts to keep compounding. But every household is different. The optimal approach depends on tax brackets, future income expectations, and long-term planning goals. And this decision deserves careful modeling, not a default setting. Number 4, we evaluate the Social Security decision rigorously. When to claim Social Security is one of the most consequential financial decisions a retiree makes. Based on current Social Security rules, and depending on your full retirement age, claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70 can mean a difference of roughly 75% or more in the monthly benefit. For a couple, the decision gets even more complex because survivor benefits are tied to the higher earner's claiming decision. The optimal claiming strategy depends on individual factors such as longevity, income needs, and spousal considerations. We model this out as part of many retirement income plans, not as an afterthought. I often see people going into retirement with a great long-term plan, but no near-term income plan. They have a beautifully diversified portfolio. They know their target withdrawal rate, but they haven't mapped out month by month where the money is coming from for the first 3 years. That's one area that can create challenges if it's not addressed. For some retirees, the issue isn't necessarily a market downturn or poor investments. It's the absence of a bridge plan for a window they knew was coming. The families we work with who navigate the income gap well often share a common approach. They tend to have planned for it in advance, rather than figuring out on the fly after the paycheck stopped. While planning ahead doesn't eliminate risk, and results will vary based on market conditions, spending needs, and individual circumstances, it addresses the window before it arrives. If you're within 5 years of retirement, it may be worth having the income gap conversation now. Mapping it out early may allow for greater flexibility in structuring a bridge designed to help manage risk in your portfolio and give you a clearer picture of what your income could look like in years 1, 2, and 3. Outcomes will vary based on individual circumstances, market conditions, and planning assumptions. We'd be glad to walk through that with you. Schedule a complimentary 15-minute introductory call with us at the link below to discuss your situation, and we'll take an honest look at where you stand. Thanks for watching.